Hello, everyone. Welcome into another episode of the Four Quarters podcast powered by Four Quarters Media. I'm your host, Tyler Bennett, here with you once again. Lucky number 13, episode 13 in season 2 of the podcast. We're joined by Lethbridge College Kodiaks men's basketball assistant coach and one half of the Drive and Kick podcast, Michael Clemons, who also had a stellar ACAC career as a player himself. He ended up graduating and finishing as the league's all-time leader in assists for his career and steals. So a man that knows a lot about what it takes to succeed as a player in the ACAC, and then has now made the transition into coaching with the Kodiaks and under head coach Ryan Heggie. It was a fantastic chat, to put it quite blunt. We started off looking at what the Drive and Kick podcast is all about between himself and Dan Lybbert, the two masterminds behind the podcast. Looked at some of the challenges they've had with starting a podcast, some of the highlights as well, some of the best parts of doing it all, and what's next for the show. Season 1's wrapping up. I believe it's finishing this week, the 14th of July. They finished that up with episode 6 in season 1. And then they're rolling into season 2, which focuses, we'll let him say that. We'll let him tell you what it focuses on. But season 2 is right around the corner. Hopefully, they've got a spot for me if they ever get short on guests. Not a big... I don't want to give it away. So hopefully they have a spot down the road. We'll leave it at that. And then we kind of looked at how things can improve in Canadian collegiate basketball, from the CCAA in all 5 of its conferences to U Sports in all 4 of theirs. It was a raw chat and wasn't expected, but a lot came out of it. And I think the biggest point that we can take from it all is the product in Canada is good. Don't get us wrong. It may be construed that way at points in the conversation, but the product in Canada is good at both the CCAA and U Sports levels. But there's a lot of potential and a lot of room to grow to get it to where Mike and I both think it should be or could be. And it starts at the institutional level with the schools and fine-tuning the game day experience, from scorers tables to live streams to whatever. And then that'll trickle down to the atmosphere, to the level of attention, because the coverage, the appetite for coverage is there. I've seen it firsthand with 4 quarters. People want it. It's there, but there's a lot of potential in the game itself to get it to the level that it should be. So to me, it was a great chat. Fantastic back and forth, bouncing ideas off one another. Hearing from a player's perspective and now a coach as well. Mike has seen it from both sides of the coin. So hearing his thoughts on ways to improve it from a player's perspective as well as a coach's perspective were eye-opening and enlightening. And then I just added a few points here and there because, you know what, why not? Chip into my own conversation from time to time. And then we wrapped it up with a discussion on the Kodiaks and how the 2019-2020 season played out and what excites Mike the most about the future of the Kodiaks men's basketball program. So with all of that being said, let's jump right in to episode 13, Lucky 13, on the Four Quarters podcast powered by Four Quarters Media, with one half of the Drive and Kick podcast and Lethbridge College Kodiaks men's basketball assistant coach, Michael Clemons. Enjoy. All right, so I'm now thrilled to be joined by Lethbridge College Kodiaks men's basketball assistant coach, one half of the Drive and Kick podcast, Michael Clemons. Mike, thanks again for doing this. How are things on your end? I'm assuming you're still at West?
Yes, I'm still in Lethbridge right now, and things are good. I'm just enjoying my summer, trying to adjust to quarantine life in the summer, just like everybody else. But yeah, everything's good.
Yeah, I think every time we have somebody from the West Coast on, it's always a little bit depressing on my end because you guys are so much further ahead than we are.
In terms of what?
Stuff being open, just slowly getting back to normal. We're getting there, but it's not quite where it's been for you guys for as long as it has, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, Alberta is different just because every place is so small that it's easier to kind of control people, and it doesn't spread as easily as it would like in a bigger city out east. So that makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah, it's we're getting there, but I don't think we're going to get back to what normal was before this all started.
No, absolutely. I definitely think there's going to be a new normal for a lot of different areas of life, and I'm very curious to see what the world looks like in like a year or two from now.
It's crazy to think like how much it's changed in 3 months. Like you said, in a year from now, look back at it again and see what has stuck from now. I think there's going to be people wearing masks long after this. I think that's one of the big things we're going to see, and the social distance too. I think it'll be prominent wherever we go.
Yeah, I think overall too, people are just going to be way more cautious in public, and then how they touching things and putting things back. I think just people, there's just going to be a heightened level of awareness for everybody, just because we don't know. Even if they tell us things are okay, we don't know yet, and I don't think we will know the truth all the way completely. So.
I feel guilty now going to the grocery store and you grab something and then you change your mind and you're like, well, now I feel obligated to buy it because I picked it up and touched it even though I don't need it.
No, yeah, it's definitely just a habit though, right? Like, that's what we've been doing our whole life. I did that the other day. I went and I picked up a pack of Gators. Like, I don't want it, and put it back, and I was like, man, I probably shouldn't have did that.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's definitely tough.
And then you look around to make sure to see if anybody saw you first, and then if they see you, you go pick it back up and just buy it anyways, even though you don't need it.
Yeah, or at least try to wipe it down so they don't, look at you like you're spreading the virus yourself.
And then they wonder why you're pulling out Lysol wipes to wipe down product, and you just like you can't win in that situation.
No, absolutely not.
Kind of want to start off looking at the Drive and Kick podcast with yourself and Dan Lybbert. What was kind of the idea behind that? How did that all come about in the first place?
Well, so when quarantine started and everybody was doing Instagram lives, and they had the feature where you can talk at the same time. So it's like the live feed with two people. So I started doing just State of Hoop is what I called it. But basically it was an excuse for me to just talk basketball with other hoopers and kind of dive into their story. That's kind of how it started. I wasn't thinking much of it. And then like I listen to a lot of podcasts now. And for me, it just helps. It helps a lot more than like reading a book. I can listen to somebody's story and take in all of that information. So I was like, in my mind, I think I'm a pretty good basketball mind because I study the game. So I felt like, okay, maybe let me put it in a podcast form. And then when I talk to people, it's going to help me learn about their story. It helped me be a better, podcast host. And it's just about spreading and exchanging information. So that's basically how it started. And then Dan, so I met Dan. He was my fourth year in the ACAC, which was my first year in Lethbridge. He just transferred from the U of L. So that's how I met him. And he's also from Arizona. So like where I live in El Paso, Texas, he lives 6 hours away from me. So it's actually, we have a connection that way. And he's somebody that really wants to learn and who's really eager to talk to people and figure out their story because he's still chasing it. So I thought he was a perfect co-host because I knew he was going to work hard and be committed to it. And he also his background is super unique. So I thought with both our connections, it would just make for a unique podcast.
Have you always wanted to do a podcast, or was this, like you said, just quarantine and something, it just seemed like the right time to do or expand on your Instagram lives?
Well, not necessarily a podcast, but I always thought that I could maybe do like live, what is it called? Like play-by-play or maybe like an analyst, just because ever since I was little, I'm just I love basketball, so I can talk about it in depth. So I always wanted to maybe do that, but I never thought of podcasting. Podcasting just really became popular the last 2 or 3 years, right? Just because all the
Right.
platforms now. So it makes it a lot easier. And it's just with the Zoom call and everything, it makes you don't have to be in the same room. So it makes
Right.
it a lot more easy to do. So yeah, the podcast it came up later. So I definitely didn't always want to do it, but I guess the podcast is the perfect way to do that now.
Yeah, I think this whole quarantine thing, like, it's shown you that there's so many other ways that you can do things like podcasts, like through Zoom instead. So now you can actually see the person. You don't have to actually, like you said, be in the same room, let alone the same city, let alone really the same country. You can just go anywhere.
Yeah, it definitely makes things a lot easier. You can get to anybody you want if you really wanted to. If you know somebody, you can get to them.
And for you guys, like you said, with yourself and Dan, like, Dan's eager to learn as much as you can because he's still chasing the dream, and yourself having the career that you had, and like you said, watching basketball since you were a kid. Like, it seems like a perfect pair of hosts. Someone who's been there, someone who's in that position now, and just sharing as many stories as you can. I think it worked really well.
Yeah, that's all it was for me. I'm not trying to blow it up. It's not, if it blows up, it blows up. But for me, it's just more about perfecting what we want it to be, and then
Right.
just keep growing. I like hearing other people's story and listen to, how they navigated it, because my story's super unique. Everybody's story is unique, and I think we all can learn from each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the younger generation, they don't do enough listening to older people talk or people that are experienced talk, right? So I think that's another thing too. So for the people back home that I went, from El Paso and from Arizona for Dan, like, I want those kids to listen and be like, okay, I don't have to be an all-American, or I may not have to take that route. There's so many other routes I can take, and these are the stories.
Right. And look at what these guys are doing. Look how they turned out. There's more than just, like you said, all-American, and there's so many other avenues. But yeah, you find the younger generation, if they hear older people talk, they're just kind of listening to listen, but they're not listening to understand and learn. They're just there to be there, but they're not actually there to grab the information, process what you're saying. And I think more of them can learn from the older generation and just understand that there's more to life than what they see themselves.
No, I agree. And that's why I think it's important to have people that are relatable. Like, it's hard to get an NBA player or a G League player to come on here on the podcast and talk to them. And it's like, that kid it's not as relatable as somebody like who may have went to the HAC or university in Canada. It's just different, right? It's more relatable. So I think it makes it easier for them to listen and actually take that information in.
And everybody sees the NBA and the G League's players on TV, so they're already prominent enough. So that's the only avenue a lot of kids see. Mm-hmm. Like you said, showing people that are more relatable, players that have come from the same background as maybe what they're going through, and showing them, this is what I've done, and I was in the similar situation to you. There's a lot more to life than just NBA and G League. There's a lot of other ways you can go.
No, absolutely. And that's one thing I learned just by coming to school and playing in Canada. Like, I was completely unaware of, college basketball here. And now I see it. I'm just like, this is so much of an opportunity for people back home that they don't know about. They have no idea. Right. So, but yeah, no, I hope that answers the question.
No, for sure. Have there been any challenges with getting the podcast off the ground and getting it rolling? I know you guys are approaching the end of season 1. I think that's this coming week. Mm-hmm. Episode 6 is the end, and then you guys are going into season 2, which is the NBA, which we'll get into in a minute. But what's been the most challenging part of getting this off the ground and going?
The most challenging part, I would say we're just trying to make consistent quality. Making sure I had to get a pair of headphones, and just making sure like there's no glitches and everybody sounds okay and the the connections are good. But other than that, it's been pretty easy. Using the Anchor app, you can really upload everything there, and then they distribute it to all the other platforms. So it's not like we had to do individual uploads. So that was pretty easy. And then the Apple software makes it easy to cut and edit. So it was fairly straightforward, honestly.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of the, like you said, there's the connections and the little things like headphones and making sure everything sounds okay. Then after that, it's a pretty easy process, like you said, to edit, piece it together, and whatever you use, like you said, you use Anchor app, whatever you use to upload your podcast, you upload it once, and then within minutes or an hour or two, it's everywhere. And you just have to upload it once and it's done. It's a lot easier than I think a lot of people make it out to be.
No, I agree 100%. And that's part of the reason I thought I should do it, because it isn't that hard. And it's like, I get to learn something new, a skill while building a podcast. So I don't know. I think it was a great idea for me personally to help me grow. So
it goes, yeah, it's twofold. Like you learn something and you're doing something you love at the same time. And you guys went into it with the mindset of if it blows up, it blows up. If it doesn't, you still have an avenue to talk basketball. I think if you go into it with the mindset that this has to blow up or I'm not doing it, it makes it 10 times harder because there's more stress, there's more everything on your shoulders. If you just go in and do what you love, it'll come eventually.
no, exactly. I think when you do something like that, you have to understand your why. Like, why are you doing it, and what purpose is it serving? If you can't answer those two questions, then you're already behind the eight ball, right? You should never do anything for the whatever you think, the monetary gain or the fame or whatever. Those things will come and go if you deserve it, right? Like if you have a product or a service that is worth that, then it'll happen, right? But I think you have to really understand what you want to get done, who are you trying to cater to, and why you're doing it. And I think it makes it just so much easier.
It's that who, what, where, when, why that you learned in elementary school. And if you don't answer those 5 questions, if you don't have that figured out, like you said, you're behind the eight ball already. You're doing it for all the wrong reasons.
No, exactly, 100%. It's like, it's not just in this world. It's whenever you do anything in life, I think that's the mentality you should take. Like, if you wanted to be a music star or whatever, like, focus on the music. And if, you reach that audience, you get that fame and that money, then it's going to come, right? It's going to come regardless. But your attitude and your work ethic, that's what's really going to push it, right? That's the engine that keeps it going.
It's not going to happen overnight. You're not just going to get handed what you think you should be. You got to earn it. You got to put in the work to get it.
No, absolutely. 100%. 100%.
On the flip side of that, you kind of touched on it already with hearing the stories and learning, what's been the best part about running a podcast so far?
The best part, I would say the best part is the feedback. Like hearing other people saying that, man, that really, it motivated me, or I like when y'all talk about this. I mean, you kind of do it for those reasons to, to help people, but to actually get the feedback, I think that's been the best part for me so far. And to actually meet people, like there's a few people I've been connected to, about, you hear about, but when you actually speak to them, you unpack their story, I think that's super cool. And then you get to ask the questions and get the answers you want to know. So for me, those two things would probably be my favorite.
It's one, like you said, it's one thing to know or be connected to somebody. It's another thing entirely to have the Zoom face-to-face conversations and, like you said, pick apart, like unpack the story, learn what most people don't know. And then you're the one that ends up sharing that with the rest of the world. And then podcasts, they can go anywhere. So who knows who's listened and heard the stories that have been shared. But to know that you're the ones that have helped unpack that and share the story, I think it's rewarding in itself too.
No, I agree with that 100%. And it gives a platform for these people with stories to actually speak, because so many people have stories and they're just focused on their journey. But when they get to unpack it, it kind of helps. It reveals something to themselves that they may not have known how they felt, right? Because you ask them a question and they answer truthfully, right? They just speak what they feel, and they may not have actually been aware of how they were feeling until they speak on it. So I think it gives the players or whoever's on the podcast just a platform to speak their mind and speak their truth, right? So
yeah, speaking their truth is a big thing. And like you said, the self-reflection, they may have noticed something they didn't realize at the time, and now they look back on it, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. And That's why I like what you guys are doing. Just like you said, giving athletes a platform to share their story and speak their truth and unpack their stories. I've listened to them all so far. They've been a ton of fun, and I strongly encourage everybody else to check it out too.
No, we appreciate the support 100%. I think this platform is great. That's why I wanted to be a guest. So now I'm just trying to, help your platform grow. Whatever I can bring to it, I'm here to help because we appreciate it 100%.
It goes hand in hand. Like I think, especially in Canadian basketball, the level of national coverage and support hasn't been there. And it comes back to, like you said, showing kids that there's other avenues that you can take. And if you can't, I've said it, I don't know how many times, if you can't see it, you can't achieve it, you can't dream it. You don't see a lot of athletes from Canadian schools on media outlets. And to have outlets like Four Quarters and you guys at Drive and Kick and others really showcasing the athletes, it puts that at the forefront. And I think it'll be huge for younger kids to see that there are more avenues out there. And I think the support goes both ways. Like you got to work hand in hand to grow the coverage. If you're going against someone else, you're competing with someone else, again, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. I think we're all in it for the same idea. We're not here to blow up overnight. If it does, it does. But it's a platform for athletes to speak their truth, unpack stories, and inspire younger kids while also learning a bit ourselves and learning about ourselves as we go.
No, exactly. Yeah. No, you hit it right on the head. I can't really add to that. I think you said it perfectly. That's really well said.
Doesn't happen very often, but I take it when I get it.
Yeah, no, that was really well said.
What do you guys have on tap for season 2? What are you guys looking at in the next season of the Drive and Kick?
Well, season 2, I think the NBA starts at the end of this month.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a lot of it is going to be tailored around the NBA and the bubble, just because this season is so unique and different from every other season. There's no other professional sports. I mean, there's some soccer and maybe a little bit of baseball, but the NBA bubble is going to be the biggest sports in the world when it starts. And I'm just, with all the storylines that were happening all season, and then you throw this in the mix, and then you throw the bubble and no home court advantage and all these scenarios, I just think it gives us so much content to talk about right off the bat. So I really want to pack an NBA. And a lot of people don't. Like, I could talk sports with people, but I know basketball. And me and Dan are really going to get into it about basketball and breaking stuff down to the nitty gritty. And I can't wait.
What are your thoughts on the bubble? Now that players have been there, we've seen Instagram videos, we've seen tweets, we've seen J.R. Smith do a live and get told to get off because he's showing too much. What are your thoughts on the bubble?
Well, I have two sides of thoughts. One side thinks is like a logical human who understands we're going through a pandemic, who sees the numbers of coronavirus cases raising daily in Florida.
Jeez,
and then seeing what the NBA has to do just to like make the bubble happen, like shipping every team's home floor there, having to keep the Disney employees separated from the players, having to bring all that food in. It's so much that has to go into it that it's crazy.
Right.
But then there's the other side of me looking at it like as a basketball player, as a basketball mind, who's like, this gets down to like who wants it more. This is just, there's no fans, there's no home court advantage, none of that. It's it's us 5 versus y'all 5.
Yeah.
Whoever's been putting the work in prior to these 3 weeks of training, let's get after it. So I think it's going to be so pure. And yeah, I don't know what to expect. I think guys are going to play hard, especially after the Last Dance documentary, after Kobe passing and everything. I think this is going to be the most competitive we've seen. Like, usually the regular season, even the end of it, even if the standings haven't been set, it isn't super competitive.
Right.
But now every game matters because you only have 8. And seeding is it's huge because matchups are huge right now. And certain teams don't want to play other certain teams. So as a basketball fan, I'm drooling. I can't wait to see it.
And I think a lot of guys, like most guys, are going to be healthy. Any injuries they had before, hopefully they're gone. They've been healed enough where they can play. I think everybody's, like you said, it's us five versus you five. That's it. And no fans. It's just straight up basketball. And I don't watch a lot of the NBA, I'm going to be completely honest. But this situation, I'm probably going to watch a lot more just for the sheer uniqueness of the situation. It's going to be a ton of fun.
No, yeah, fair. I typically don't watch a lot of regular season games unless it's like a prime matchup.
Right.
But I'm always tuned into the playoffs, and it is such a unique situation. I think it's going to draw so many fans that who are maybe the casual fan. I think the viewership's going to be crazy. And then what you said about health, 100% right. Like a team like Portland, who's got 3 players back that are in the rotation, a starter and 2 very, very good bench players, like they're back in the fold. And then you look at a team like Philly, who Ben Simmons and Embiid were done for the regular season, and now they're back healthy, right? And a team that's really contending. So, yeah, I'm just very interested to see. I think whoever wins this championship is the best team this year. There is no, there's no asterisk next to it. I think it's harder to win this one than any of the other one.
Yeah, I think with the situation and where everybody is, like you said, no, there's no home court advantage. Everybody's on the exact same playing field. Except for that you're in maybe one of 2 different hotels or one of 3 different hotels. That's the only difference that you have right now. Who's your pick to win then? If it's an even playing field, everybody's should be healthy. Who does Mike Clemons pick to win?
It's tough because I think what LeBron did this year by getting the number 1 seed in the West and just playing how he was playing was just ridiculous at his age. But I don't know if they're deep enough to win it all. I don't want to go against him, but I just do not see enough playmaking on that bench. Even with JR and Deion Waiters, like I like those guys, but I don't see enough playmaking unless Anthony Davis is playing out of his mind, which he's capable of. But and the Clippers, I think they needed a little more time to actually gel, even though I think they're number 2 in the West. I think they needed more time to really just figure out, who gets the ball when, because they really have 2 or 3 guys that can close. And then they got Reggie Jackson late, and then I think they just signed Joakim Noah. I mean, adding him doesn't make a huge difference, like offensive-wise, but it's just, matchups and all that. I don't know. I'm very curious to see what they do, but I would have to say the Bucks. That's my pick.
Okay. Yeah.
And the reason I choose the Bucks because I look at their depth. They're deep, like 1 through like 9. They're really realistically 9 or 10 deep. They're big. They're long. They can shoot the ball. They made it to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, so they're they've been experienced. They've been working up to get to a finals. They have Giannis. Bledsoe's playing great.
Yeah.
Lopez is playing great. I just think they're a bad matchup because their style of play. Like they're big, they rebound, and they can shoot well, and they can switch a lot of things on the perimeter, and they guard the basket. So I think they're just a matchup nightmare in a situation like this. So I'm gonna have to say the Bucks.
I think for the Bucks too, I think even like playing like roster aside, I think a market like Milwaukee winning a championship would be huge for the game. Like you saw the impact that the Raptors winning the championship had on Canada as a whole, let alone Toronto. You get a small market team like Milwaukee to win a title, basketball is going to boom in Wisconsin if they win. So just from that standpoint alone, I think seeing a team like that as opposed to LA where the spotlight's always on the Lakers and it's always on the Clippers. They don't need it as much as a Milwaukee needs it. So I think from that point for me, it'd be a ton of fun to see them win.
Yeah. No, I agree with that too. The small market, Milwaukee's really done it right in terms of acquiring a team, right? I think they drafted Giannis like 10th, 11th, something like that. He wasn't a top 10 pick, I don't think.
No.
And then, they developed him and then got pieces around him and got a coach who really understood how to maximize what he does and put a team around him that works. So I think a team like them winning would kind of show like, okay, it is possible not to get guys in free agency and to still, win a championship. So it would be cool to see. It'd also be interesting to see the Clippers because if I think Kawhi could get them a championship That'd be his third title with 3 different franchises. The
Right.
first title for the Clippers, and they got to go through the Lakers. So that would be
That's true, too.
that would be. I think that changes his place on the all-time list. Like, I don't want to make crazy statements, but the conversation gets interesting then. It's very, very interesting.
And yeah, I think the best case is a Clippers Lakers Western Conference final would be that'd be must see every game, and that's the one that's the series you hope goes 7.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think the interesting thing about that, and which sucks for the Lakers, is like you did all that work to get the first seed, and now your crowd, it doesn't matter, because if they would have played, LA would have had the home court advantage regardless. But it's like every game in that building is a Lakers game. So the Clippers really would have been a quote unquote a road game. But now none of that matters. So the advantage they did have is it's completely out the window. Yeah. So to see that now, it's really going to be so gritty, and I can't wait to see Kawhi and LeBron match up for 7 games. That would be, oh my goodness, that'd be great.
That would be a ton of fun just to watch. I think we would grow a lot more basketball fans out of that series if that were the case. Even your casual basketball fan would tune in to watch LeBron and Kawhi go at it for potentially 7 games.
No, I absolutely. It's the 2 top 3 players. I don't know if Kawhi's 2 or 3. I think KD's right there, but 2 of the top 3 players are going head to head. And then you have somebody like Paul George, who's, I think he's about top 10, top 12, and then AD's top 7, right? So you have 4 guys in the top 12 of the league going head to head. You know, both teams have fairly decent benches. You know, coaches are great. Like, it's I can't wait. That's the best case scenario, like you said.
That would be. It's a shame that can't be a finals. Like, and if the season was normal, like a 7-game finals, it's in the same arena, and that would be unique in itself. And just that would be the ideal situation, but conferences kind of mess that up. So we'll take the Western Conference final as a consolation, if you will.
No, yeah, absolutely. The West is always just
tougher.
So dang tough. Like, not saying the East. I think the East has gotten better over the years, and I think 1 through like 6 or 7, the East is, I think, a lot deeper than people think. Like, I think Toronto is very, very good. I think Boston's really good. They're small, but I think both of them are really good. I could see them winning the East. I could see Philly winning the East. I think it's a lot less likely than the other 2 teams, but I could see that with this rest and then no home court advantage and all that. I could see Philly winning it. So,
who would you rather see in the playoffs in the West? Melo in Portland, Zion in New Orleans, or Ja in Memphis? As a fan,
if you want to talk players, I just want to see Ja. But teams themselves, it's tough. I'm stuck between the Pelicans and the Blazers. And I say the Blazers just because I think they pose the biggest threat of any of the other potential 8 seeds to the Lakers.
Right.
Like, I think that's the worst case scenario for the Lakers, is to have to play a healthy Blazers team who just got Nurkic back and who just got Collins back. Melo was playing well. Now he's rested. Dame and CJ are healthy. I think that's a bad matchup for the Lakers. Not saying the Lakers can't beat them, but that's not a good matchup for them. Like, that Portland team is very experienced. It's not like playing the Pelicans or Memphis, who haven't been in the playoffs, and they got all these new pieces every 2 years. Like, it's a completely different ball game.
Portland, they're not your typical 8 seed, and they would be tough, and that'd be fun too. Melo, LeBron, that would be. I mean, there's so many situations and scenarios that could play out that just make this so much more exciting than what we've ever seen before.
No, yeah, I agree. Even teams like the Nuggets, I think people, they get lost in the shuffle. And I'm like, this team's a very good basketball team, like a very, very good basketball team. Even a team like the Rockets, I'm very interested to see them playing that small ball for these last 8 games. And then in the playoffs, like, we're going to see if it really works or not. And I think this is a major year for Harden. I think he's going to have to at least get out the first round. The first round exit is not acceptable for the Rockets. I don't think.
You have to. If you're Houston, you have to get out of the first round. I don't know what happens if you don't. I really don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if you blow it up, but something significant has to change. Maybe you go more traditional and actually play regular basketball and not try to break the mold. Not saying that's a bad idea, but I've never seen a team with a center under 6'7" really win. Not saying you need a traditional center, but you need some type of rim protection.
You need
and rebounding still.
some sort of height to it.
Yes.
Like they're playing Canadian collegiate roster sizes right now. And it works at that level. But yeah, the pros, you need some sort of height to make it happen.
Yeah, I just think when you play in the playoffs and the game slows down, right? So you scout the team, you understand exactly what they're going to do, especially out west, right? These are teams you play 3-4 times throughout the year. And then now you get time to, watch film and know what they like to do. It's like it comes down to possessions. Like whatever team rebounds better usually wins, right? Because they have more possessions. So unless they really, really can set the pace and play up and down all game, which is hard to do when you play ISO ball, right? It's hard to do that. But I'm very curious to see how it's going to work. Very curious.
The whole thing is unique. It's unpredictable, and I think start to finish, it's going to be a lot of fun. I think that's the easiest way to put it. It's unique, unpredictable, but it's going to be a ton of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. It has like a summer league / AAU feel to it.
Right.
And you mix that with the current social environment in America. You mix that with the fact that the collective bargaining agreement is up this summer. You mix that with, people being healthy. They have had all this time off and there's no home court. There's just so many scenarios, like you said, and factors that all play into this being, for me, I think this is going to be just in the last 5-10 years, probably one of the best playoffs we've seen.
Yeah. And I don't know if we'll ever see it again, but you can't make this stuff up. Like if you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago and saying this is what the playoffs may look like in the future, people probably would have laughed in your face. Yet here we are in 2020 when nothing has been normal this year.
No, yeah, that's for sure. If you would have told any of us what this could have looked like, the year itself, everything that's happened, or the NBA, like you said, not only am I laughing at you, but I'm calling you tomorrow to laugh at you some more and tell you how wrong
every day.
You are.
I'll call you every day to laugh at you until it actually happens, and we're only halfway through. Heaven forbid the second half. This would be crazy.
No, yeah. Hopefully it's a bit better, but I mean, everybody's going through the same struggles, essentially. So we all just got to find a way to adjust and make the new normal, I guess.
Yep. Looking at Lethbridge now a bit before we wrap it up for you. Was coach transitioning from player to coach, and you played 2 years at Lethbridge, and you ended your career being the ACAC leader in assists and steals.
Yes.
Did you ever was coaching always a goal for you before we get into the year? Was that always a goal, or did that just kind of come about?
Yes and no. Since I was little, when I mean little, like 10, 11, 12, and then my teen years, I realized that I was able to teach people basketball more easy than other people. Like I can show people something and break it down in a way they understand it, to where I see other people try to do that and they couldn't do that. And my dad was also a coach himself. He wasn't a basketball player, but he coached us. So I was around it. And then I think playing with so many different teams, leagues, and different things, I've been exposed to so many different versions of coaches. So I've seen the best of the best, and I've also seen other things that aren't the best. So I just feel like I have a lot of experience that I can help pass on. But was it always a goal? Yes, but I didn't think it was going to be right after I finished playing.
Okay.
So it just kind of happened. Like I saw what the team was bringing in, and I was still going to university out here. So it just made sense that I just try to come help out. And that actually turned into me having a very serious role. Like, not that I didn't expect it, but it was a role that it expanded to the point where I didn't see that happen.
Okay. So it was on the radar, but not as soon. and then it just, I guess, exploded into something bigger than you saw coming.
Yes, exactly. Like it was to the point where I mean, I've always, just as a player myself, I watch film. That's the only way to really tell the truth about the game, right?
Yeah.
I like the numbers, but the film shows me more than the numbers could ever tell me.
Right. It's
Right?
that eye test. It's the old eye test.
Yeah, you can't beat it. That's just, yeah. You can tell me what he makes or what he shoots from there. I don't care. Let me see how he does it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then just also, yeah, I'm a smaller guard. So you have to have, your IQ has to be higher to survive. Right. So I knew I had the respect of the guys from the team last year, and I knew I had the coaching staff's respect. So I knew me coming in wouldn't be hard. Like I was just going to get in where I fit in. I wasn't there to take over by any means or do anything. I was strictly there to try to help us win games. Right. That's the only reason I wanted to do it. But yeah, I didn't expect it to be, I didn't know what it was going to be like, but I was there. I was doing the nitty gritty work. Let's just say that I was helping guys in drills and breaking things down for guys. And I kind of saw myself doing that, but I didn't expect it to be like that, where they depended on me as really a key role. So I was like, okay, let me take it more serious and actually, lock in.
Was that maybe the biggest challenge for you, kind of adapting to a bigger role a lot quicker than you expected, or was there a bigger challenge outside of that in that transition?
No, that wasn't a bigger challenge. That wasn't a challenge. That was just more of me just understanding that, my role it's bigger now. So I need, that comes with more. That wasn't a challenge. I would say the biggest challenge was like really carving out my role. And, understanding what exactly my job is. 'Cause I've always been kind of like a natural leader. So I want, I haven't been in a position where I'm the assistant coach. Like usually if I'm not the best player on the team, I'm the captain on the team. Okay. Right. And I'm not a yell at you type of captain. It's just, I'm the leader. So when I'm not the leader, I have to understand how to balance like what I see may be right, but also what the head coach is, what his vision for that looks like.
Right.
Right. And then how can I facilitate that vision, for us to be successful, instead of me just having my opinion about it, not necessarily agreeing with him or whatever the case may be, and then doing my own thing anyway. You can't do that when you're on the staff, right? Yeah. It's divisive. So just trying to balance what I felt was right for our team with what the head coach wanted, and then trying to mesh that together so we were on the same page, and then the guys, they got the best version of that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. How did your relationship with Coach Heggie change, going from playing for him to coaching with him?
How did it change?
Or did it change at all? Like, did it, like you said, he had the trust in you as a player? Did it?
I think it changed. Well, one, I realized that coaching is it's a lot harder than people may think it is, right? In terms of just you're managing, like, especially in the ACAC where everybody's age difference is crazy. There's some guys on teams that are 30, like, right, and you have an 18-year-old kid, right? So being able to manage people from different backgrounds, like on our team, we have kids that are 18, 19, 20, young kids that are Mormons, they're married. And then you have older guys, you have transfers. I think just managing all that is very underestimated. So I think I gained a more of a respect, from the other things you have to do, budgeting the account and giving out scholarships and all this tedious work that is really outside of just coaching basketball.
Right.
So I gained respect for him in that aspect. And then I think it changed. I think he gained respect for me too. Like as a player, I was fiery. That's just how I play. But yeah. I think he gained an appreciation for like what I actually knew and how I could teach it. It's one thing to think you know something, but it's another thing to teach that to somebody and get it out of them. And I thought I did a fairly decent job at that, and I think he respected that.
I think there's a lot that people, like you mentioned, the accounting and the handing out the scholarships and a lot of the nitty-gritty behind the scenes. There's a lot that goes into coaching that most people will never see until they make that transition. Like, you see the end result, like you see the scholarship or whatever, but all the work that goes into those little things that you don't see, I think it gives a lot of people a better perspective on the industry as a whole.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, you're dealing with, you got to schedule bus times, and then you got to schedule meetings. You have a coaches conference. Somebody gets a technical foul, you have to do an appeal because he may get suspended. You got to call
Right.
this AD, that AD, reschedule this, reschedule that. And it's just like, I don't think people understand quite what that's like. And it's different. Like when I went to Grand Prairie, we actually had a trainer on staff, like a strength and conditioning trainer.
Mm-hmm.
At Lethbridge, we don't. So like, that's also different too, trying to figure out how to, try to get the guys in the weight room and have them do some conditioning outside of practice. But it's also like, that's, coach doesn't really have time for that. He's a husband and a father, and you know what I mean? So I think people don't really understand, I don't want to say the lack of resources, because I think we have plenty, but just the extra work that these coaches may have to do when they don't have those things available to them.
It's how far the resources stretch.
Yes.
I think I think Canadian colleges and universities as a whole, there's not a lot of staff, so the resources that people have are being stretched about as far as they can go, and they're trying to balance that extra work on top of it at the same time, and it's tough sometimes.
No, yeah, it's definitely hard, and that's one thing I didn't really understand when I first got to Canada. Like, I understood it, but I didn't understand it.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went to Grand Prairie, there's no physio at all. I'm having to pay for physio when the athletic director's wife is the physiotherapist, and I'm like,
Okay.
I'm a full-time scholarship player and I don't get free physio. Like, that's crazy to me, right?
Yeah.
And then we don't have a locker room. But then I come to Lethbridge, it's like, we have a locker room and a steam room and a physiotherapist for free. So I was just like, oh, like you can definitely see the difference in institutions. Or you go somewhere like Nate or Sate, where the facilities are a lot. They got a lot of stuff in them, right? They got ice baths and all this other stuff that other schools just don't have. You go to Ambrose, they don't even got shot clocks. They got shot clocks on the floor, right?
Jeez.
So it's definitely about stretching the resource, and this is a lot of things you don't see as a player, right? You're not supposed to see, but when you get on the other side, you definitely have more of an appreciation for it.
I think that's the big thing, the appreciation of what one school has versus another. It's every school, I usually like the NBA, every school is so unique, and it could be a good way, bad way, however you want to take it, but it's unique to themselves. And then you mentioned managing personalities and different age groups, and like you said, some kids are married and kids, some are 28. Like, there was a guy that played out at Algonquin who was 38 playing against 18-year-olds. Like, that's a 20-year gap. Like, he was probably older than coaches in the league.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. I agree 100%. And I understand why Canadian schools do that to try to get more players, but I also don't like it. And I'll give you an example why. My 5th year playing here at Lethbridge, Sate's a good team. They're talented. They get, they have money to give. They're in a good location, so they get talent. But their 3 best players were all over the age of 26.
Yeah.
I was 23 years old in my 5th year, and they had 3 guys over 26 that were all American. They were all American. That's so, like, to me, if you don't win the league, it's kind of like you should win the league. These are grown men.
Yeah.
Grown men. You're grown. There's nothing a crowd fan can tell you. There's nothing a coach can tell you that's really gonna phase you. Like, you're grown. You have grown man strength. We have 18, 19-year-old kids. We had a 17-year-old kid. Our big man was 17. He didn't turn 18 until January.
Yeah.
And he's guarding somebody who's 27. And it's just like, I get why they do it to get more players, but I also I don't love it, right?
I think there's, like you see with university football, like there's an age limit of things like 24. Like, there's got to be some sort of age limit or time period. Like, I don't know if it's a certain number of years removed from high school or just a set age of if you're not don't turn 25 by this date, you can play. But if you turn 25 before the start of like September 1 in a year, you're ineligible. But if you turn 25 after it, you're fine. I think something like that, like you said, because then you run into guys that are 17, 18 guarding guys who are 27, 28, or heaven forbid 38. You're guarding a guy that could be your dad.
Yeah.
Which is weird to me. I mean, I get why they do it. And I mean, if you've got eligibility left at 38, I'm okay with you pursuing collegiate basketball. But I mean, there's got to be an age limit, I think, somewhere, because that's what guys get hurt too.
No, yeah, and it's maybe a time frame, because I'll spill some secrets. I know guys who play 2-3 years, sit out a few years, and then come back. I don't like that either. Like, maybe you should have to play your year. If you start your time clock, maybe you only got 6 or 7 years to finish that 5 years of eligibility.
Right.
All that playing and then sitting out to see your best option, then going to the best school. Like, I don't think that takes the purity of college basketball out, right? Like, you're a pro. Go be a pro.
Yeah.
You sat out this long. The age difference. That's why if you look at the NBA, seniors don't typically get drafted high because the age difference. You look at somebody who's 18 versus 22. It's like, okay, he's 18, but what's his potential? What can he be at 22? So you look at these 18, 19-year-old kids in college here. It's like, well, if he was 27, what would he be? If I played in ACC at 27, I'd score 2,000-3,000 points, right? Like, it's not. It's just it's a very big mental and physical difference. You have life experience that these people do not. It's easier for you to manage school and to do all that stuff than it is somebody who's younger, right?
Yeah.
Right. And I just, I don't love it, but I get why they do it, and it does get good players to the league, which I appreciate. But I don't love it.
Should have 1 year to sit at, like one red shirt / take a break year, and then, like you said, 6 or 7 years. Once you start your first year, you have 6 or 7 years to complete it regardless, and then you're done. So you graduate high school at 17, 18. Basically, that's your 20, 24, 25-year-old window. And then after that, you're done.
Yeah.
It'd make things a lot easier. Would make a lot more sense, but you want to get people to play in the league, so I get it. But yeah, there's got to be a middle ground that appeases both sides.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. It was frustrating for me just as a player. Just like I played my 5 years straight out of high school. I didn't. I took 1 year off because of injury, and I still finished playing at 23. So I really finished on time. And then it's like we're playing these other teams. It's just like, well, these guys they're just older than us. It's not like they're a better team. They just have guys that are older, bigger, stronger, faster, right? We don't have guys that age or that experience, right? So it's just, I'm not going to say it's an unfair advantage because teams earn the wins, right? Like, you win. But it's like, it changes the game. If I went home right now and got 3 of my friends, or 2, because I'll be one of them, that were 25 plus to come play in the league, we win the championship. It'd be easy, right? It'd be super easy. But like I said, I get why they do it, so they can get those type of players in the league. But there has to be some middle ground. And the ACAC, at least CCAA, they need to talk about this soon. Yeah. It's a problem.
I think you even see it with the COVID-19 responses and the plans. I think U Sports did it right with the AUS, Canada West, and OUA statements at the exact same time, saying we're shutting down for the fall. And CCAA was, everybody did their own thing. Like, nothing was consistent. And I think that's one thing that kind of hinders the growth of sports in colleges, especially in Canada. Nothing's consistent. It's the ACAA does their own thing. They release a statement at their time. The OCAA is at their time. Quebec may still play in the fall. So if you have Quebec playing basketball in the fall, but the other 4 conferences are not, and then you still have a national championship come March, the Quebec schools have an extra 10, 12 games under their belts that could give them a competitive advantage, where you have other schools that can't practice or have tryouts till November. And the message, I think, needs to be consistent, whether it's an age limit or anything. There's no cohesion. There's no consistency across the board.
No, I agree. And I don't even think it's just with this situation.
No.
I'm talking everything, like from the consistency of the refs, of local refs. Like the refs here in Lethbridge, I don't want to bash them or talk bad. They're not terrible, but you go to Red Deer somewhere and you can see the difference in reffing. Clear as day. It's not even like, it's very, very apparent. Right? Even something like certain conferences getting another bid because they're hosting and stuff like that. Like I just don't agree with a lot of that stuff. And I think we have a long way. Like I think there's so much room to grow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I just don't know where it starts because there's all these little issues that people seem to turn a blind eye to. But to me, I think they're massive, right? Because I think the leagues could be better. Like I think there's plenty of interest in it. I think there's been quality players. There's good coaches. But I just think some of the way it's ran overall, top to bottom, I don't love it. I'm a part of it and I'm trying to help it, but there's a lot of little things I'm like, we got to get these right before we want other things to go right first.
There's a ton of potential with even youth sports, CCAA. There's a ton of athletes. There's an appetite for it. Like we found out with what the platforms we have, like people want more coverage. They want more things. They need to do something with the rankings. They need to make them, if they're going to do them, somewhat worthwhile, like use them for something and not just have them there for just people to look at and have nothing to do with nationals or anything else. And yeah, there's a ton of potential, but a lot of little issues along the way that where do you start to rectify everything? I think it's a big project and hopefully they buy in, but I'm a little skeptical to see how this unfolds.
No, yeah, I agree completely. I think, like I said, I don't want to badmouth the leagues or anything like that, but this is just me speaking for somebody who comes from like Texas, where the sports from Pee Wee until college and older, everything's so organized and structured and they take it super serious. And to come here and to see, like you said, a country wanting the appetite and the athletes wanting it to be a bit better and then things kind of not changing is very frustrating. Like I look at, like you said, the rankings and stuff like that. Like the Pac-West gets 2 teams in nationals and their conference is so weak. Like that, you look at the ACAC conference, I think we were one of the toughest conferences. I think the OUA was pretty good. But it's like we get one bid and we have 3 or 4 teams nationally ranked top 10 all year. Like, to me, that's crazy. That doesn't make any sense to me.
And it's a lot of it's based off of past results at nationals. So, yeah, you get strong teams one year at a conference that make a run to nationals, and then that conference reaps the rewards for who knows how many years down the road because of a good year. I think it should be more proportioned to the number of teams.
Yeah.
Like Pac-West has 7, ACAA has 7. You guys have 15. Ontario has 22. Quebec has like 9. So it's got to be proportionate to the leagues, I think.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's a great way to do it. And I just think it's unfair when we're playing 22 games against 8 different opponents and they're playing, 7 games against – and there's really only 2 teams out there who win the league every year. Like, no one else really wins it, right? The ACAC, even though State has won it the last 4 or 5 years, I felt like it could have went either way. Like, I didn't go into the playoffs thinking they could win it. Like, I knew other teams had a chance to win it, but they've won it, right?
I like the rotation of hosts for nationals going through all 5 conferences. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And I think the year that a conference hosts, they should be guaranteed maybe a 2nd seed. But after that, it should be kind of based off of, one, use the rankings more often, use them for some sort of weight other than clickbait. Base it off of the number of teams, like where the biggest numbers are. Alberta, Ontario are right there. And because you do a host team from a conference. So if Pac-West hosts, they have 2. Alberta has 2. Ontario has 2. Quebec, and ACAA. There's 8 teams right there, and then you're done. And I think that, to me, they kind of do it that way. I don't really like the whole wild card, based off of past results. Like, I don't think that should have an impact on the current season because you can't change that anymore. It should be based on that year and that year only.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that. Even me personally, and I've been on a team that hosted playoffs. I don't even love the fact that if you host the playoffs, you get an automatic spot. I don't like – I've been booted out of the playoffs when my team had a better record than the host, but we didn't make it because they were in 5th and we were in 4th. They booted us out. And I'm just like, we outplayed them. We you know what I mean? We had a better record, but because they hosted, I'm just like, yeah. I understand if nationals, right, there's a lot of money and stuff involved, but the playoff tournament, if you're not top 4 and you're the host, I think – yeah, you shouldn't be a guaranteed spot, in my opinion. I just don't think it's fair.
Yeah, that's fair because they have that in Ontario too. Like, regardless of where you finish, you're guaranteed quarterfinal spot as a host. And I get why they do it. And I mean, they want to give – I guess you want to give schools a chance to compete on their home floor. But, yeah, I mean – yeah, if you're not top 4, I don't know. Did you really earn it, or were you just kind of handed your spot? And most teams, I think you'd ask, they'd rather earn it than – I guess they'd rather be there than not at all. But it's one thing to earn it; it's another thing to be okay. Here you go, basically.
Yeah. It's an automatic spot, and then for me going to Grand Prairie and understanding how hard it is to actually make the playoffs.
It's not easy.
Get right there. No, that's why I think the ACAC is so tough. Like, it is hard to make the playoffs. You gotta play Friday and Saturday night, 8 and 3 o'clock up north, and 8 and 8 down here in the south.
Tough.
It's hard. Grand Prairie and Keanu are so far; they're 5-10 hours away from every school. So every time you go on a road trip, you travel 5 hours. You play. You wake up. Less than 24 hours later, go to the gym at 1, and you play again at 3, then drive another 5-6 hours home.
Yeah.
That is not easy. And then for you to actually, do that throughout the year and get 4th or 3rd or whatever the case may be and just get booted out for a team who's hosting, if you host, you have leverage over recruits. You can recruit people because you can basically say, I'm hosting, and then you still don't make the playoffs. You should not just be given a spot, in my opinion. Me being an athlete, I don't like that.
Yeah, I think with you having been in the competition for the years that you were and having to fight weekend and weekend out and everything else, like, it's not easy. It's not. But I think the biggest takeaway from this is if any conference has a meeting on changes to be made, I think we should be invited to the table.
Yeah.
We'll tell them how it is.
Yeah.
We will give them honest opinions of what needs to or what should happen from an outside perspective, because they may have blinders on. They may see, okay, this has worked for so many years. Let's just keep going on the straight and narrow. And they're missing all of these little turnoffs and detours that could make the end product a lot better for fans and players.
No, exactly. And when you make the product better, when the quality of league increases, you're going to get better coaches and players just because it's a little more verified, right? Like the way you do things, it's consistent, it's concise, it's the right way to do it. Now you get a few more guys going pro, more coaches maybe want to come up here. You get more exposure, more players come up from different countries or whatever the case may be. Just more exposure, better ran. It's better for everybody involved. It's better for the fan. It's better for the athlete, and it makes the product scalable. It makes it able to grow instead of just like all these little issues and these cracks at the foundation that makes it so tough. Like, you go through it and we love it, but it makes it very hard for the league to actually be like certified and grow and get that attention. That's why they don't get the attention. That's why there's CCAA guys I've seen. I'm like, okay, he's a pro basketball player, but it's like he may not get that chance because the quality of the league isn't that good, right? Like, that's just the truth about even the university guys. Like, I know they they have more of an opportunity to go pro, but still it's like I can take some guys that are Division II or Division III back home, and I'll take them over these university guys just because I see the quality of the league, right? So, but no, I agree. I'm with going to the table and talking to them.
Like I think the leagues we have are good. I think there's little improvements that we can make along the way to get it to where we think it should be. And I think there's some good that's done, but there's also some stuff that can be changed and tweaked and modified to make it that much better. Like you said, that'll increase the exposure, that'll increase the coverage, that maybe get more people involved or interested in watch. And just it all starts with conversations like this, just throwing ideas out there, having honest opinion from people not in the administration or the leadership teams, and understand where people are at. And I think it helps.
No, yeah, 100%. And even just to kind of backtrack a little, not to throw us off, but just to backtrack, I think the individual leagues themselves and the schools must improve their quality of the product. Like, there's so many malfunctions with the scores and the keeping track of fouls and the correct stat keeping and all that it actually takes away from the product of the game. If you watch the ACC play, you can see there was so many miscues of, the shot clock not working, the scores wrong. This guy's supposed to have this many fouls. They called this many timeouts. And it's like the fact that those things are an issue lets me know we're not even ready for the changes we're talking about. And it's consistent. It's consistent everywhere. Everywhere it's like that, at least here in the ACAC. I can't speak for other conferences, but it's like that here. And it makes me wonder, like, okay, yeah, these other ideals are good and I like them, but man, we got this other things that are just not being talked about.
Yeah. And I think if you start with those little issues, the stat corrections or the shot clock errors or whatever it may be, then that has an effect on the game, which if those run smoother, then the game runs smoother. And then that affects the opinions of fans who see the game run smooth. They don't see anything go wrong. Okay, it's a decent product. This is good basketball, because it's good basketball. I think it's hindered by the little errors and the blunders, and that starts at the bottom. If we iron those out, and then they get picked up. If we don't iron them out, they get picked up by media, and then the media coverage is incorrect, and then they're wrong, and then they're putting the wrong information out, so they're not going to come back and cover because they were given wrong information the first time. I think a lot of those little issues that you mentioned will just trickle down and have a massive effect on the entire product.
No, yeah, I agree 100%. And even Coach Heggie, he's one person, he's very aware of that stuff because he played university and he's been in the league a while. And he talks about a lot of this stuff all the time. And I think he's actually on some board out here that they talk about those type of things. And he tells me that he's trying to bring those things up and talk to other coaches to try to get them to, all be on the same page and try to want the same things and to make it happen. So I think it's coming, but it's slowly coming, but I think it is coming.
We'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
And again, CCAA, any conference, U Sports, if you have a meeting, call us to the table. We'll be ready to go. And we'll even come through Zoom. We don't have to be there. We'll just use Zoom, and we will give you honest, raw feedback that may be needed, may be helpful. We might be way in over our heads, but you don't know until you ask us. So hit us up.
No, exactly. Just have a conversation with people that are in tune with what's going on. It's not like we're some random fans. Like, we both have experience and awareness of exactly what's going on, right?
Right.
So
We've seen the good, we've seen the bad, we've seen the unordinary happen. So, and you as a player, me as a fan / employee / this, have two different perspectives from it altogether, and combine those two, you get some good ideas and good discussion that's taken us over an hour already. So, I mean, it happens.
No, yeah. I agree 100%.
Last one for you. What excites you about the future of the Lethbridge program?
Oh, what excites me is the opportunity to work all this fall to prepare for this upcoming season. The way we ended last season, people took that ending and try to like discredit everything that happened otherwise, right? Even if we talk about us losing to Nate, and I was playing in a league the other day and somebody brought that up. And I was like, if you actually watched the game and saw what happened, we felt, in my mind, being an honest hooper and a coach this year, we beat ourselves. They did not outplay. We give credit where it's due. They won the game. Obviously, right? It's win or go home. No excuses. My hat's off to Nate, their coaching staff, all those guys. But when you watch that game, they did not outplay us. You look at it, they shot 57% from three. They averaged 34% on the year.
Yeah.
Marcus Taylor-Knighton had 27. He averages 15. Brock Dewsbury had a chipped tooth not once but twice in that game, and he couldn't play full 40. Orrin Porter got he had a hip strain or whatever, did not play the end of the third, a little bit of the fourth, and we were up 3 or up 6 with 3 minutes left. A missed call, a bad call, and 2 turnovers. We only had 5 turnovers in the game. 2 back-to-back turnovers, and it's an 8-point lead for them, and they win. So it was like we left that game feeling like we left one on the table and not that they outplayed us. Like when we lost to State in January, they outplayed us. Even though the game was winnable, they outplayed us. So I think this team, with Brock coming back, Chase coming back, Orrin for his 5th year, we're hungry. And I get a chance to actually work with them. I didn't come to Lethbridge until September last year, so I didn't do no summer work or nothing with them. So the facility's open in August, and we get a full fall to actually prepare with this team again. Like we had rookies last year. Our starting center, that was the first time he started in his career, in his life. We had Chase was 19, Brock was 19. You know, we have all these guys playing these minutes that are, you know, they're really first years. So just having that year under our belt and getting this entire fall to actually work, that's what I'm excited about. And I know a lot of people, you know, they got their opinions, but we will be ready.
I think like you said, the way it ended, it kind of puts that chip on the shoulder a little bit, and hearing how people discuss the game against Nate just fuels the hunger even more.
No, yeah. And even then we knew, like they had 51 rebounds. We knew rebounding was an issue coming in, but us as staff, we did not do our due diligence throughout the season to prepare us for that type of environment. We knew we were small. We knew we could get out rebounded, and our guys, they don't rebound. They didn't gang rebound. And we didn't do that all year. When you play a team like Nate that was hot in the playoffs and they were killing us inside, they killed us inside. They were bullying us. That's how they beat us. 51 to 34 rebounds, that'll win you a game. Even if they had 19 turnovers to our 5, that'll win you a game.
Yeah.
So not only that, but I felt teams really felt that we weren't as good as our record said, and I'm just like, no, we're that good. We have our flaws, absolutely. But I just kind of want to go have another good season to validate everything we've done. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm ready.
I think every good team is not without their flaws. I think everybody's got them regardless. But one game shouldn't erase everything else that you guys did in the year. Like, your only loss was to State, if I'm not mistaken. And, like, you're young. It's a young team. It's a lot of your young players a lot of your top contributors are young players, and now they got another year under their belt, or a year under their belt. And, like, I'm excited to see what Brock does in year 2. Like, I'm just waiting, and I hate having to wait till January, but that's a selfish answer. But I think it is what it is. But it just fuels that hunger, it fuels the drive, and yeah.
And I'll tell you something funny about Brock. Brock's advantage is the fact that he's only about 6'3", but he's strong enough and athletic enough to play inside. But he's a really, really good shooter, and he hasn't tapped into his ability to put it on the floor. Like, he can put it on the floor, but he really can't create. I haven't had a chance. He hasn't worked with nobody that can teach him. And I think this fall will be a great time for me to actually expand his game. And his numbers may not be the same next year just because right? They're going to be on. He's going to be on
100%.
everybody's radar.
100%.
But I'm excited to help him expand his game because I can see exactly the next step he needs to take to expand his game. And also somebody, Chase Bonnie, he gets overlooked because Oren and Brock are so good.
Right.
But Chase is actually, he's really, really good. The first round of the playoffs, Brock, I think, had 16. Chase had 22 and 5. Right? And then, he didn't get all conference. There's just a lot. We have a chip on our shoulder. We'll say that.
I think the fact that Chase is a guy that kind of just goes under the radar, I think that just bodes well for you guys because, like you said, Brock's going to get a lot of the attention this year, and rightfully so. I mean, the year he had was incredible. Oren's going to get his attention, and then that's going to allow guys like Chase to just do their thing. And it's going to be fun. I think that's the theme of this. NBA is going to be fun. This is going to be fun. If the CCAA invites us to their meetings, that's going to be fun. I think it's going to be exciting.
Yes, and the thing with the ACAC in particular that's unique, that's cool about this year is the playoffs is in Calgary and the national tournament is in Calgary. If there's a nationals,
there better be. So, there better be.
Yeah, so I think playoffs is at Ambrose.
Yep.
Nationals is at State.
Yep.
So it's gonna be a good year. I hope they have a national tournament.
Even if it's no fans, I don't care. Just something, please.
Yeah, I agree. I'm curious to see if they even will allow fans in January. That'll be very, very different.
I don't think they will. I'm on the side of it. We're probably gonna have no fans this year, maybe even next, like the following fall. Like, who knows how long?
Wow. Yeah. And
that's
that
just
doesn't go. Yeah.
That's just my opinion. I don't know anything more than the next guy. Just my gut says none this year, and maybe none the following fall. Maybe a year and a half away from having fans at a college sporting game, or even any sporting event for that matter.
Yeah, and see, that changes everything because in the ACAC, the talent between teams, it isn't really that much of a difference. Maybe the top teams, they have more talent than like the mid-pack. But a lot of the times it's the environment of that school.
Yep.
When you go play Red Deer, or you go play even Ambrose, like those are tough environments and they feed off their crowd.
Right.
And I hate to say it, but I think refs are influenced by crowds. I've seen where crowds get really, really hostile. And to me, it felt like the officiating changed. So it'll take a whole other emotional element out of the game.
Right.
For these young guys, like for pros, that's easy. They can adjust. But these young guys, that's hard.
It's tough.
Yeah.
Going from playing in front of fans or even first years this year going to play in front of nobody. It's going to be a weird sensation. You get the first game or two, that's going to be the toughest. And once you get used to it, but it's those first few, like you've been hearing about this college environment for a year or ever since you've committed. And now you go there and it's dead silent. And it's just you, 5 guys on your team, 5 on the other, 3 refs and a ball. That's it. That's all there is.
Yeah. I think it's going to separate the truly good teams for the teams that kind of like they ride the wave. And I don't want to, that's not a knock on anybody. It's like if you go play in Augustana and Camrose, you can see that at home they are a completely different team than if they're on the road. Yeah. And that's just because the environment, the gym, it's small, it's loud. The court is completely different. So I just think taking that out, it's gonna show who's really mentally tough and who's not, right? Who needs the crowd to actually get through the game and who doesn't. And I think it's gonna expose a lot of kind of fringe teams, and it's gonna make either you're good or you're not. There is no in the middle, and you get sneaky wins because you're at home, right?
Yeah, it's we're in for an interesting, I guess, year in basketball, NBA, college, university, NCAA. It's going to be interesting, to say the very least.
Yeah, like I said, making the new normal because, these times are
just get used to it.
Interesting.
Just get used to it. This is what we're going to be for a while.
Yeah. Oh, I'm definitely excited. I'm excited for it all and
Yeah.
to just go through the process of it all. And when people look back 20 years from now, they talk about 2020 or the next 2 or 3 years until things really get, quote unquote, back to normal. I think these times are going to be very interesting. They're going to be looked at as one of those times like, man, you remember when that happened.
Yeah. This is going to be a full unit in public schools, high schools, history class for God knows how long.
Yeah.
But Mike, I want to thank you for doing this. It's a ton of fun. I'll leave it to you. Where can people find Drive and Kick to listen to?
It's on all platforms where they have what is it called? Podcasts. Okay. Google Play, Spotify, Apple Music, Anchor, Breaker. There's a whole bunch of other ones that I'm not super familiar with, but that we are available on. So and you can follow us on Instagram at Drive and Kick Podcast. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate it. For sure.
Hey, appreciate you coming on. We'll link Instagram, Spotify, iTunes down below so people can check you guys out. But again, really appreciate you doing this, and looking forward to what you guys got on tap in season 2 of the podcast coming up as well.
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity to come on your podcast and be a guest, and go Kodiaks.
Well, anytime you want to do this again, we'll get you on, and we'll have to get Dan on too and do a Drive and Kick 4 quarters collaboration.
Oh, absolutely. We want to have you on the show as well.
Ooh, it's always different when you go from asking the questions to being the one asked the questions.
No, yeah, for sure. It's always different. It's different.
I appreciate you doing this, and we'll do it again soon.
Yes, thank you.